If you're giving corporal punishment, how can you dial it up? I'm here with Carrie Hill from EmpoweringSexuality.ch, and I'm Kathy Vartuli from the IntimacyDojo.com. And Carrie, if you're delivering corporal punishment to someone, how do you dial it up?
Well, it's interesting how you ask that, because corporal punishment isn't just about giving blows. It's about really connecting with the person that you're delivering corporal punishment to, and that could be done through a number of ways. So, for instance, I might say be using a paddle on a bottom, but I'm also connecting through touch. I'm connecting through questions. I might be using mildly humiliating language. It depends on what the kind of rapport is that you have with the person you're working on, and it's very, very individualized. So one thing that works for one bottom isn't going to work for another, and the same goes for the tops as well. Tops have their own unique needs, and everyone wants to have a good time at the end of it. So really, it's just using combinations of different sorts of tools, different implements, sometimes the incorporation of music, whether it's more cacophonic or if it's something more soothing, or maybe a combination thereof. There's lots of different ways of getting people going without really using anything really overt.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm not particularly kinky. I love that people enjoy it. For someone who hasn't really explored this, what is corporal punishment?
Corporal punishment, in all generalized standards, really it has to do with basically inflicting some sort of implement from top to bottom. So, for example, the top will use, say, a flogger or a paddle, maybe a ruler, depending on what sort of situation you're going to be using. You can use like canes of all varying sizes, and more often than not, the stereotypical visual is that, the top is inflicting pain to the bottom's butt, their bottom, right? But it's not just about inflicting on the bottom. It can be in a myriad of ways all over the body. It's just really, the corporal punishment aspect really has to do with what is being used, how, and to what purpose. Right? It's more about intent than body parts.
Oh, okay. That's really interesting. Yeah. And you'll be giving the talk Corporal Punishment for Evil Gits, dialing up to 11. I love that analogy, like turning up the radio higher than it can go.
I may or may not have been influenced by Spinal Tap.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You're willing to deny it if anyone asks, though. So it sounds like if you want to increase the intensity, dial it up to 11, you're using not just the cane or the flogger, but you're using all different things to intensify the experience of the person receiving it.
Yes. It's not just about what tools you use, it's about how you get into the person's head.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Like mess with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. If someone, some of the people that will be watching this will be at ConvergeCon, and I encourage them to show up for your talk, but if someone's watching this that won't be able to get there, what's one, if they want to explore corporal punishment, or they want to turn up the knob, what's one thing a tip you could give them so that they can go explore with their partner?
First, I would say is that there's a huge amount of resources available, not just online, but really within most communities. I've been very lucky to be in an environment where there's been a huge amount of different kinds of BDSM communities available, especially during my time in Victoria. I spent 10 years there, and there's so many different communities. It's fabulous. But you can really find what you're looking for in the communities you look for. So most states, for example, will have metropolitan areas and little places where smaller populations of kinksters will go to meet and greet. There are often there's a social networking site called FetLife, which is a really useful website. What I would suggest to people who don't really know it is, because it's so vast, to maybe see if you can get helpful hints. Reddit also has a whole bunch of subreddits on BDSM and lifestyle, where people of all levels are included, welcomed, and accepted for any questions they might have. There's really a limitless amount of places to look.
No, that's really wonderful. And if someone was wanting to dial it up this evening with their partners, what's one thing that you've tried that you really liked when you were trying to increase the intensity?
Are you looking for, like, are you referring to tools or
Like how do you, like, what's one thing you've done maybe like to get in your partner's head? Or you said you use music, but like you're also getting in their head and kind of talking to them.
Mhm.
How do you know what they like?
Well, you can definitely tell by breathing, by body language, of course, by the consent that they give, and through the negotiations that you do before the scene of what's going to be permissible and what's not going to be permissible. The nice thing, though, is that once you have that consent, as long as it's, not revoked and you have that ongoing consent, that you can manipulate the things that are allowed to be used. So, for example, if I were using a flogger or even two, because two-handed flogging is also a thing,
Oh, wow.
I might, switch up the flogger so that one's a different material than another without the bottom knowing.
Oh, wow. So they're just
Or if,
expecting one thing and
yeah,
getting something else.
or for instance, if someone's really into spanking with paddles, I might incorporate a toss, which is sort of a two-layered leather tool that actually has a harder impact and can be sometimes a little more stingy, and maybe not tell them, but just do one stroke, just so it makes them question what's coming next. Really, the best part about this sort of play is it's all about the anticipation of what comes next.
Wow, you are evil.
Why, thank you.
So have you been to ConvergeCon before?
Yes, my first ConvergeCon actually was last year.
Yeah.
So I'm very honored to be a presenter this year.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. What are you excited about? It's not that far away. What are you looking for?
I'm actually really looking forward to meeting more people in the community. I've only been in Vancouver 2 years, and as such, I have some friends within different areas of the kink community, but I don't really have like a huge network here yet. And for me, it's just going to be really nice to meet with like-minded people.
Oh, yeah. And it's a really warm conference. Like, people are really friendly.
It's so welcoming and inclusive. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing with me. I can't wait to hear your talk. I love hearing what different people do, even if I'm not kinky. Sometimes it can spice up the bedroom even in other ways. So I love the idea of that anticipation. So thanks so much, and I will see you really soon.
Excellent. My pleasure. Talk soon.